With non-real numbers, we said that I was the same thing as the square root of a -1. It's just our reminder for today. I'm going to write it here too. And what that did was it allowed us to take the square root of a negative number, and this is a non-real or imaginary answer. We also said I squared equaled something. Does anyone remember what that is? Nope. Nope. Yes, what I squared, when I squared, if you'd square a square root, it should remove it. I squared equals -1. Okay, and so today, for the multiplication piece, you're going to multiply and you're going to kind of treat I as you would if it were like an X, okay, as if it were a variable. But when you get to the end, if we see I squared, we're going to replace that with -1. We can't do anything, we're not going to do anything with the I's, we're going to leave it in there. But this, we are. So let's multiply these two numbers together. Okay, so we have 2 minus 5i. I have nothing in between my parentheses, so we're going to assume that means multiplication. And then 3 plus 7i. I've noticed some of you like to use, some of you like to do a box for multiplication. No, yes? No, I know. I think distributive property is easier, but some people like to do this and multiply that way. I'm just giving you that as an option. I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to just use the extended distributive property. But some of you do like that method because then you remember to do all 4 things. It's totally fine. Multiplication, just a reminder, we called this FOIL to remember the 4 things. But you have to do the firsts, which means I have to do 2 times 3. And what is 2 times 3? 6. And then we have to do this 2 by the 7i. That's, we call you are doing the outsides of the parentheses. 2 times 7i is plus 14i. We're going to treat this as a -5i. -5i times 3 is minus 15i. And -5i times 7i is minus 35i squared. So I just kind of color-coded to keep track. That's the 4 multiplications. Just like before, these two, the outer and the inner, are like terms. We're going to be able to add those together. So on my next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those together, and I'm also going to take out this I squared. And remember, above we can replace I squared with a -1. What that's going to allow me to do is add some more like terms. So we have 16. 14i minus 5i is minus 1i, or minus I. And this becomes minus 35 times a -1. What happens to this sign if I have minus 35 times a -1? Yeah, it becomes an addition sign, right? So this becomes then 6 plus 35, which I can put together. 6 plus 35 is 41 minus I. So this would be the most simplified I could go on, something like that. So really nothing new in the the process except that you got to replace the I squared with a -1. Okay. Division is a little bit different. So I'm going to write down what we're doing so you kind of have a summary of that. When you're dividing complex numbers, what you're going to see is you're going to have a plus bi, if you want to call it, in the top and a plus bi in the bottom. And what you're going to do is look in the denominator and you're going to be multiplying the top and bottom by the conjugate, and you might not know what that word means, conjugate of the bottom. So we're multiplying the top and bottom by the conjugate of the bottom. So what we want to do when we divide complex numbers is we want to get rid of those two things in the top and the bottom, and we want to just have no I in the bottom at all, okay? Let me tell you what a conjugate is. Let's just draw an arrow down here. The conjugate, what it does is it multiplies by something that, so the i's, remember the outers and the inners, will cancel. So if I had a plus bi, the conjugate of that would be a minus bi. All right, let's practice. So I'll start with all addition. What's the conjugate of 2 plus 3i? Yep. Okay, let's do another one. What if I had negative 5 minus 2i? So when you have something like this, you're not changing, you're never going to change that number in front. The only thing that's going to change is this sign. So that changes. So I'm going to make this then negative 5 plus 2i would be the conjugate. Okay. What does multiplying by a conjugate do? This is going to cancel the I terms. You're going to see what I mean in a sec. You know where the bottom of a fraction is, the denominator. Make sure that it's just the conjugate at the bottom, that you recognize that. I'll highlight that. Okay, let's do one. Let's simplify 3 plus 2i, and on the bottom I'll do 4 minus 5i. Okay? So we're going to go to the denominator. Basically our goal here is we want no i's in the denominator. Okay? So that's the bottom. What's the conjugate of the bottom? 4 plus 5i. So what we're going to do then is we're going to multiply our top and bottom by 4 plus 5i. All right, on the top, you're going to get something, it's still going to have i's in it. In the bottom, you're going to get rid of the i's. All right, let's do it. On the top, I have 3 times 4, which gives me a 12. I have 3 times 5i, which gives me 15i. I have 2i times 4, which gives me 8i. I have 2i plus 5i, which gives me plus 10i squared. I'll simplify that in a sec. On the bottom, what's 4 times 4? 16. Now, after we do this one time, if you know what's going to happen, like on your homework and stuff today, you can not write this step. What the next two are going to be opposites of each other. 4 times 5i is plus 20i. minus 5i times 4 is minus 20i. What's going to happen with those? They're going to cancel. That's what I was talking about, how the middle terms will cancel when you multiply by a conjugate. And then finally, minus 5i times 5i is minus 25i squared. Okay, let's do some things. First of all, let's go ahead and just write, we're going to cancel those on the bottom. On the top, they don't cancel. That's okay. We just are going to get rid of the i's on the denominator. So, but we can add those, right? What else can we do? I squared is negative 1. So 10 times a negative 1, this is going to become a minus 10, right? All right, so what does the top simplify to? Well, I have 12 minus 10, which is 2, and these together become plus 23i. Okay, and on the bottom, what's minus 25 times negative 1 going to become? Because remember, I squared is negative 1. Positive 25. So on the bottom, my middle terms cancel, and I have 16 plus 25, or, what is that, 41? All right, ask me a question. Do you see how the original problem I had an I in the bottom and I removed it? That's what simplifying complex numbers for division means. All right, I'm going to have you guys try it. I'm going to have you try it on